Podcast 123. And guess what? Here we go again. It's
One, two,
spring.
three. One,
It's
two,
spring.
three.
It's springtime. And guess what Chris is doing already? As he always does during the spring and summer months, every single time we start a podcast. Everybody
Yeah.
just guess. What is he doing? What is he doing?
Sneezing. Sneezing.
He's sneezing because why?
Itchy, watery eyes.
He's mowing clover.
He's mowing clover.
Every podcast in the spring and summer, it starts out with Chris mowing clover. You mow clover.
'Cause I farm for deer.
You farm for deer.
hmm Somebody's
365.
got to do it. Yep. 365. Somebody's got to do it around here.
Yeah,
There
you're
ain't
the only
Jack around here.
you're the only one doing it. You should have took a
Yeah.
Zyrtec or wore a
Yeah.
mask.
I'm going to take some Benadryl after we get done recording this, and then it'll put me to sleep.
You're a pill popper.
Yeah.
You would
What
think with
kind?
all them antibiotics you took that like some grass particles wouldn't bother you.
I think that's why they do. It killed
Probably.
my immune system.
Yep.
When a dandelion blows those little seeds, them little fluffy things around, I just start sneezing. I just look at them and
Crazy.
my eyes get puffy and itchy.
Crazy. So Chris has a topic here that
Yeah,
he saw, and he really wanted to stir the pot and get people fired
yeah,
up.
oh
So
yeah.
this is the
We,
topic that he wants to talk about.
so you folks out there that have kids or grandchildren or somebody you want to mentor, here's a new initiative in Pennsylvania. The commission is asking staff to look into the possibility of changing mentored hunting program to allow mentored hunters under 7 years old to once again get their own tags. Under current regulations, mentored hunters under 7 can harvest a variety of big game using tags transferred to them by their adult mentor. So, twofold here. We want to talk
Twofold.
about how young is too young of an age to be hunting and pulling a trigger or whatever. And then we can touch on the tag thing.
Hmm.
Um, so, where do we want to start? Do you have any opinions, Dave?
Yeah. So I don't have kids, but
That
I
you
can
know
tell you
of? Yeah.
that I know of. But I can tell you growing up and what my dad did with me. So I didn't kill my first deer until I was 14. I killed it with with a bow. It was with a PSE Nova. And that was my very first. Hold on now. I messed up. I lied. My very first deer was this deer on the wall. It was a 14-point buck. I shot that when I was 14 years old. The following year, I bow hunted. I got into because that was I shot this in December, early December. The following year,
Mhm.
my dad would take me bow hunting. But prior to me ever deer hunting, I was always in the woods. I was always scouting squirrels, rabbits, and my dad always took me rabbit and squirrel hunting. So I
So,
started when I was, I don't know, 9, I think I was 9. So I
did
squirrel
he
and
have to possess a license to take you out?
yeah,
Yeah.
yep. He would take me down Eastern Shore to a area to a public land down there. And now my dad, he was a trooper. He all I like we'd have to wake up 3 in the morning. I'm knocking on the bedroom door, waking him up, and he's not a hunter at all. Like he doesn't like he just doesn't really. I think he's killed 2 deer in his life when he shot when he was in his 20s.
hmm
He's 68 now, I think, but he just really has no interest. So, but he always took me because I wanted to go.
hmm
So we started out squirrel and rabbit hunting. We would go down to this public land and we would just bob and weave through the fields trying to kick up rabbits. And we killed several rabbits. And then we did that from 9, 10, 11. And then I started right around 11, 12. I started getting into deer hunting. And then I shot this deer with my dad. And then I got into bow hunting the year later. And then also this same springtime, I planted my first food plot when I was would have been probably 14 turning 15. I planted my very first food plot with a garden tiller. So right
Ryegrass.
around, huh?
Ryegrass.
No, but it was with, now this was say 14, 28, 30. Now this was 23 years ago. I planted my first food plot, and it was just around that time where Whitetail Institute, I think, kind of came into play, and I ordered their seed. I don't remember what it was. It might have been might have been clover, or might have been a Nebraska. I can't remember. But so that's when I got into deer hunting, right around the 11, 12ish, 13 area. And but I got into hunting in general, birds and rabbits and squirrels when I was about, I don't know, 9, 8, 9, somewhere around there.
Okay.
And my personal opinion on how young is too young, I see, things online where, they're people are taking like little babies, out to the ground blinds, and I mean, a couple months old, and things. And I think that's cool, but like setting the kid, like a 5 or 6-year-old kid up with a tripod, you know what I mean, and having a bow and it's resting on there. I understand that it's getting them into the outdoors and it's getting them hunting, but right off the bat, you're making it easy.
Hmm.
It's just my opinion. I'm not making anybody trying to make anybody mad. I just, it's great. Get them into the outdoors, whatever. But the world that we live in now, where everything is easy, everybody wants something easy.
Yeah.
Set up a tripod in a ground blind and set the crossbow or gun on it, and you pull the trigger and you shoot a deer. That is easy to do, and you're setting that the kid up, I think, to have like a certain mindset when he comes when he's as he grows up, where things should be easy, and that's just my opinion. So maybe, get the kids out, walk in the woods and squirrel hunt and rabbit hunt, at a younger age. Get them moving around and try to shoot a rabbit. Shooting rabbits is hard.
Yeah.
Zipping around, like you do on your tractor, rabbit mode. But it's, I don't know. I just think it, like, there is a certain point where it's too young. Like, if you maybe bow hunt, when you become an age where you can actually pull a crossbow back, getting the kids starting out with, or a compound, getting them starting out with a crossbow right off the bat, and it's on a tripod. I just think, I don't know. I just think it's too young, and if they can't use a compound, you're just starting them out with it being easy. And bow hunting really is not easy. Like, there's a reason why everybody, if it was easy, everybody would do it, right? You say that with
Right.
everything. If a certain thing is easy, everybody would do it. Bow hunting's not easy. Like, it takes it sometimes it's easy, you get in the tree and it just works out. Other times you hunt for freaking 3 months and you can't even see a single deer.
Yeah.
So it's hard to do, but it's just the world that we live in, is everybody wants it instant gratification, wants it as easy as possible. And don't get me wrong, we all use trail cameras and this to help to help. So I don't know. That's just my thoughts.
So I have a boy and a girl, and I started
You ain't got no kids.
I started on my real young fishing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I wanted to get them excited about fishing. So we would always go to a farm pond or something, and catch bluegills. And man, they had a blast. But you can kind of gauge if they would want to hunt,
Mm-hmm.
in my opinion, on how they treat fishing.
Mm-hmm.
And what I mean by that is, are they willing to pick up the worm and put it on a hook? Are they too squeamish for that? When
Mm-hmm.
they catch a fish, are they can they touch the fish? or are they, afraid of it, that type of thing, you know, uh, instances like that. You can kind of gauge how they're going to be. And I don't know if it's unfair to do that with girls because girls, seem to shy away from that stuff from the get go when they're young.
Hmm.
And so I don't know that it's fair to say that with girls, but uh, like like my boy, he was a flipping animal. Like he wanted to play with the worms. He wanted to, Dad, can I put it on the hook? He wanted to he wanted to touch the fish, hold the fish. I would start if when he would catch a little bass or something, I'd show him how he could thumb it, put his thumb in and grab it by the lip and hold it. And he wanted to unhook it, he wanted to do it all, and I could just tell he was interested. Well, then we fast forward to when they and that I'm talking like back when they were 2, 3 years old. I had their own little Snoopy fishing rods and stuff, and I taught them how to cast, and they was doing it on their own. And see, that's part of it. Like, are they willing to learn? Are they willing to do it on their own and work for it, like you were just saying? So it's kind of a learning mode. And my daughter was really good at catching fish and hooking them and bringing them in to shore, but she didn't want to touch the worm. She didn't want to touch the fish. She just wanted to look at it, and Dad had to unhook it and throw it back. So I figured she was never going to hunt, And to this day, she never has. She's now 25, and you know, I always ask her, "Do you think you'd ever want to go hunting?" And she says, "I couldn't kill a deer, Dad." She said, "I the only thing I might want to do someday maybe is turkey hunt." So I don't know if that will ever happen. I kind of doubt it, but if she wants to go, I'd take her turkey hunting. Now the boy, like I said, he's a complete animal. He wanted to do it all. So I would take him. I had this little blind. I don't know what it's like, a little doghouse blind or whatever, one of those ones that just pops up real quick and you can fold it down real fast. And I started taking him out. Well, I would get home from work sometimes, and my wife would be like, "Take him with you. Get him out of the house," that type of thing. So I'd be like, "Come on, we're going hunting." He was excited to go with me, and we'd set up 2 chairs in the blind, and you know he would he would be interested for a while, and then he'd get bored. So I would take like video games and stuff for him, so he'd be quiet or whatever. Um, and then if I seen something, then I could nudge him and say, "Hey, here comes a deer," and he thought that was really neat. So that was like 5, 6, something like that. Well, when he got to be one of my things is they've got to be able to hold something, like you were saying. I didn't want to make it too easy. I wanted to make sure, like I started him out on like BB guns and stuff where he could hold it himself and aim it, learn how to look through the crosshairs of the scope, and this was all training for the future. So we would do that type of thing, and then what I ended up doing was I never started my son till I believe he was 9, I believe it was. And I had one of those Thompson Center Contender pistols in 223, and it was the Super 16's sweet barrel is what it's called. And they made those barrels purposely 16 1/4 inches, because anything under 16, you're not allowed to put a buttstock on. So they purposely made those barrels 16 1/4, and then they offered a buttstock so you could put a rifle stock on it. Well, when you put that buttstock on that 16-inch barrel, it still looks like a toy, but it's a serious machine. I mean, that is a groundhog killing fool, that gun. I killed so many groundhogs with that thing, even with just the pistol handle on it. I put a bipod on the barrel and lay down in the field and blast hogs all the time. The thing's stupid accurate. So I reloaded some shells, soft points for hunting, and I took them out with me at age 9, and was allowed to go over to. I asked my buddy, could we come over we're talking about mentor hunting, so obviously at that point in time, if I remember correctly, they weren't giving their own tags back then. I had to have a tag. He could pull the trigger, and then I would have to, he would have to, have to put his name on my tag, and check the box. Mentor, I mentored it to my son, that type of thing. That was back when that all started. So I'm aging myself now. So I take him out, age 9, and I didn't give him a shooting stick or none of that stuff. We went in a blind, asked my buddy, can we come over shoot a doe? Yeah, come on over. So we sit in the blind, and this deer comes out, and he shoots a doe. Okay. Now, I said all that to say this. He shot this doe, and I had him watching hunting videos and stuff, and he knew shoot it right behind the shoulder, that jazz. And the doe came, was broadside, and I was telling him to go ahead and shoot, and he waited too long, and the deer took a step and angled towards us. And in his mind, he was still thinking shoot behind the shoulder. So he did, and he shot behind the shoulder, one lunged her, and we never found that deer.
Hmm.
Okay, so what I'm getting at, how young is too young? He was able to hold the gun himself and aim it. He pulled the trigger. He made the decision where to aim. I didn't, you know, I just, I actually tried to tell him, hold up, because she turned towards us and he pulled the trigger already. So, I was letting him make the decisions. Now, of course, he was upset, all kind of emotions. First he was sky high, because he shot one and we found blood, and he was all jacked up. And we ended up looking for hours and hours and going back the next day and looking, and we never find that doe. So he was able, he was mature enough, to get over that. And that's one of the things, the ups and the downs. They have to be able to control their emotions and get over that. Like if he would have just threw a tantrum and said, "I'm never going again," I would have never tried again. I would have just told him, "Oh yeah, you stay home. You're not ready for this." But you know, I just told him. I said, it happens to everybody. It happens. You just have to be prepared for it, and just do better next time.
Hmm.
So I think I think he was at age 9, he was mature enough to do that. Now the next year we went out and we went in a double man stand, and he shot a very large spike. And at age 10, that seemed like the right age for him anyhow, around 9 or 10. Now, getting back to what you was saying, how young's too young. I see also the people taking babies and toddlers into the blind, and you were saying about making it too easy. Like I mean, I set him up on deer. Don't get me wrong, because of course you want to see them succeed, and it was like a guaranteed hunt. He was going to get a shot no matter what. You know what I'm saying? And so I did make that easy. Um, but I also handed him the reins and said, whenever you're ready, you put it where you think. And he made the decision where to aim and pull the trigger and all that. And it didn't work out the first time. Now the second time I kind of talked him through it. When he got his spike, and that was an exciting time because it fell. it ran like 20 yards and fell. And, he was really excited about that. So I think he was that learning experience from age 9 where he wounded one and lost it, you know, I would say I don't know. I don't know. What do you think? What would a 5 or 6 year old, they wouldn't care. They probably wouldn't know, they wouldn't know what they did,
Hmm.
you know. They wouldn't care. They'd be just like, "Okay, dad, whatever, let me play my video game."
Yeah,
They
that's a good point. They should be old enough to be, I guess, emotionally involved in the
Yeah,
situation.
empathy, what do they call it? Empathy or whatever.
Hmm.
I think they need to be mature enough to realize what they're about to take a life,
Hmm.
and uh they have a very volatile, in their hands they have a gun that could do damage to anything on earth. They need to respect it. And I think some of these celebrities get their kids involved or whatever, and the kids don't give a darn. They just want to make good video, of their
Yeah.
kid shooting something. And I
Right.
don't think I don't think they're mentally in it. I
Hmm.
don't I don't think they're in it. They just they don't care.
Yeah.
You
I
know.
think it's
I
just for the TV show to bring their kid
Sure,
on.
sure. But I wanted to make sure that my kids were aware of what they was about to do, you know. Um I mean, there was so many emotions involved. First of all, oh, I got one, and then you walk up to it, and they're like, a little bit spooky about walking up on it. Is it going to jump up? What's it going to do? And then, of course, then you've got to gut the thing, and that's another whole thing. You are they are they willing to get in there and help, or do they just want to watch and learn the first time? Um, do they get sick and dry heave and start puking, or are they willing? Are they willing to do this?
Hmm. I
And
remember.
it
God.
it it just they have to be mentally right. They have to be prepared for what they're about to see and understand what they're about to do is serious business.
Well, I shot a deer behind my parents' house, maybe 5, 6 years ago. Just a doe. I had planted. I hunted there when I was a kid, but a lot of stuff changed there. I couldn't hunt, and then the some land ended up being sold, and then I was able to plant this little food plot there, and I ended up killing a doe. Well, my niece was there in the afternoon when I shot one. At the time, she was probably maybe 11 or 12, maybe 10. I can't remember. But anyway, she helped. I shot the deer with my bow. Ended up tracking it, and she was with me there the whole time. We found it, and she was all excited and things. So I drug it out to the field, and I ended up gutting it. She stayed there the entire time, watching, fully interested
Yeah.
in it. I gutted it. I took all the guts out, and she saw the heart. She's like, "Oh, Uncle Dave, I want to hold the heart." So I gave her the heart, and she's sitting there looking at this thing and all this. But she never wants to go hunting.
Oh.
She doesn't want to kill a deer. She has no interest in hunting, but
Mhm.
she was fully engaged in looking at the heart and the liver and everything,
Yeah.
which brings me to this point that she is now 16, and she just went to Japan for a school trip
Huh.
for a week, involved within like the medical field.
Medical field. Huh.
So, and she wants to go to college to be like a doctor or somewhere involved within the medical, field,
Yeah.
which is interesting because when I shot that deer, she was fully engaged at 10 years old. She was fully engaged
Yeah.
in that heart and the liver and stuff
Huh.
like that. So it's like
Well, you may have sparked something in her there
well,
that
she
she
was
was
already interested in it.
yeah.
she like at first back then she wanted to be like a veterinarian or something,
Hmm.
but like but then she saw the heart and the liver and everything, and then it was like,
Well, it's definitely a teaching time,
mhm,
a teaching opportunity. And like I said, they have to understand what they're about to do, and then they can learn from it, like you did.
mhm,
She
yeah,
wanted to see what the guts were, and and I would roll. I would pull the guts out, like you said, and I would roll it around and show them, this is where it came in, this is where it exited, and you hit both lungs. I mean, he was real interested in that.
yeah.
Um,
You ever cut the stomach open to see what they've been feeding on?
I have, and I
It
don't like
stinks,
to.
stinky.
Yeah, I don't like to.
I've done it a few times just to see. Most of the time, I'll find you know corn and some
Mm.
acorns and stuff, but it's always,
Mostly acorn and grass around here.
yeah. Here though, you shoot around here because it's a baiting state.
Yeah.
Every single one you cut open, there's corn. So somebody's baiting them, or farmer's
Good
field or whatever. But
good fermented corn. You can make some good mash whiskey, man.
yeah, fermented corn.
So so we probably beat that to death. Now, the tag thing. Should they have their own tags? What do you think? Like PA, they have the mentored thing now,
Yeah,
and it's like $2.70 or $2.90. I can't remember, but it's under $3, I think, still. And what they would do is that would allow the kid to be able to shoot their own buck. And I can't remember what else. It was for big game. It was like their
mm,
own buck and their own turkey or something like that. I can't remember. But for like $2.90 or something. Now, you know, I I don't know how I feel about that. Um, because there's going to be some crooked person out there that's going to buy their kid a tag, and they're going to
hmm,
go out and whack another deer,
yeah,
just for the fun of it.
right.
So I'm thinking if maybe that's maybe the idea behind, you know, them having their own tags or whatever. Um, Maybe to prevent some of that stuff happening. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I really don't know. I can't really.
I would like to hear why they want to do it.
Yeah,
Right now, it's an initiative. They want to look into it, and because like I said, back when I started, back when I had my kids start hunting, I had to give, if they pulled the trigger, I had to give them my tag,
right.
you know, and now they can get their own little tag, and it's got their information on it. And I told him, I said, guess what, bud? You screw up, and the game warden gives you a fine. That's your fine. you know,
Hmm.
I made it clear. You
Yep.
know,
30 days
that's
in prison.
yeah. Well, I tried to make them feel responsible.
Yeah, yeah. All
So
right. Well, everybody can let us know in the comments what your thoughts on what age is too young, you know,
yeah,
to kind of do it, and maybe give us your thoughts on making it easy and kind of everything we just talked about. So
yeah. Well, hopefully, there's a bunch of people with kids out there uh, that'll comment below
yeah,
in the video and tell us how they how they got their kids started, or I don't even know. I'm assuming they have their own tags now, because my boy hasn't been able to hunt with me for till last year. So uh, the mentor thing, I don't even remember what the mentor thing is. Under 11 or something like that.
hmm,
Because I think at 12 you have to take your hunter safety and get your own tag anyhow. So I think the mentored was like 12 and under or 11 and under or something. But yeah, maybe some people will comment and tell us how they're doing it.
yeah, sounds good.
All
We'll see
right,
everybody on 124.
124.
Later.
See you.